Feels like lately, every time I get on the internet, someone's complaining about the AI slop. And to be honest, yeah, it's real, but I think most people are misreading what AI slop actually means. And the reason I think that is because we've actually been here before, multiple times. AI slop, the fake images, those soulless websites, the blog posts that say nothing, the Will Smith eating the spaghetti. It's annoying, right? It's everywhere. And the most people that are complaining about it are not wrong that it exists, but they're drawing the wrong conclusion from it. They're treating it like a symptom of something that's broken when it's actually a symptom of something opening up. This is what democratization looks like from the outside. It's always messy, it's always uncomfortable, and it's always been misread as a disaster when it's actually the opposite. And to understand why, you have to understand what democratization actually looks like every time it happens in history. Every single time the cost of creation collapsed, that is, that every time a tool got dramatically cheaper and more accessible, the exact same thing happened. A flood of new voices rushed into the room, most of them unpolished, half baked, rough around the edges, and the people who were already in the room looked around and called it a disaster. But that flood is not the problem. That flood is democratization, and democratization is one of the most powerful forces in human history. The question was never whether the flood was messy. I mean, it always was. The question is what comes out of the other side. I saw a video one time that actually made this point really well, and it's a point that I haven't been able to shake. That point was that when film first came out, everything was incredible. That's because only a tiny group of people had access to cameras, and every movie got made by someone who truly had to earn their way into the room. But the more access that people got, the more that average stuff came out. More people, more noise. And if you compare that to AI, it kind of just cranks that dial all the way to the absolute max volume. And most people hear that and then just stop right there, right? Like the noise, more noise means there's a bigger problem and everybody agrees. But that's not the end of the thought, because if you actually zoom out a little bit and look at history, this pattern is not new at all. We've seen it before, way before. Go back to the 1400s, for example. Gutenberg invents the printing press, and suddenly a lot more people can publish. Not everyone, you still need equipment and money and distribution, but way more than before. And they published everything: pamphlets, bad poetry, propaganda, wild rumors. Basically, it's like the internet of the 1500s. And it wasn't just rejection from gatekeepers either. It was like a full power struggle. The Catholic Church fought it with censorship and banned books, but also used printing themselves to push back. The institutions that used to control what was worth reading suddenly had to compete with a flood they couldn't manage. During the Protestant Reformation, especially, both sides were printing anything and everything to attack each other and push these ideas. A lot of it was low quality, a lot of it was biased, it was like messy and super chaotic. And here's the part that people forget: Luther, Galileo, Shakespeare, none of them were considered geniuses at the time. Luther was a theology professor nobody had heard of. Galileo was a dangerous, controversial voice that got himself into serious trouble with the church. Shakespeare was writing popular entertainment. His status as the greatest writer ever, though, came centuries after he died. They weren't established brilliance being amplified. They were unknown voices in the noise who finally had a way to reach people. The press didn't amplify brilliance, it actually gave unknown people a shot at becoming it. And that leads to the most important point in this whole video, something I want you to actually sit with for 1 second. The slop wasn't coming from future geniuses. The slop was the cost of a system that allowed geniuses to emerge in the first place. Think about that. Remove the noise, you remove the environment. Remove the environment, remove everything that comes out of it. You don't get Shakespeare without the thousands of guys printing terrible poems about their landlord. You need them there. They're not a bug in the system, they are the system. The base of the mountain is what makes the peak possible. And that's actually what got me to build Datum Notes, because I'm an architect and architecture has the same problem. Every project generates this flood of information: emails, meeting notes, field observations, client changes, consultant updates. It's constant, it's messy, it's everywhere, and most architects are drowning in it instead of doing the actual work. So I built this tool that takes all of that noise and turns it into something useful. Every time new information comes in, Datum Notes automatically updates your project visuals, programming charts, adjacency diagrams, timelines, always current, zero extra effort. The noise doesn't disappear. It just finally works for you instead of against you. Datum Notes, link in the description. And what makes this even crazier is that it's never just about one tool. It always triggers something bigger. It's never just one tool, always a reaction that you can't predict. The printing press helped accelerate literacy. Literacy helped grow an educated middle class. That fed into scientific revolution. 2 centuries of downstream effects from one machine that mostly printed low quality, chaotic content at first. You could not have predicted that chain from where Gutenberg was standing. Same pattern every single time the barrier drops. The tool is never just a tool. And we've already seen this exact chain play out in our lifetime. You don't have to go back to the 1400s. I mean, think about 2009, Joe Rogan starting a podcast, microphone, laptop, no network, no gatekeepers. No one gave him a slot, just tools that were suddenly available to him. And now he's arguably the most influential media figure on the planet. The kind of reach that used to require a TV network, a publisher, a PR machine built in a basement because the cost of entry collapsed. TV alone never gets him there. Podcasting gave him something television structurally couldn't. Barriers dropped. He walked through it. And the best way that I can explain what that moment feels like from the inside, before you know who the Joe Rogan of the new tool is going to be, is this. You give a whole village access to premium carpenter tools overnight, right? Most people make ugly bookshelves, a few cut their fingers off, and everyone standing outside goes, "This is a disaster." Nobody knows what they're doing, lock it back up, but one or two people in that village find something that they didn't know they had. They practice, they obsess, they eventually build something that could have never existed if tools stayed locked behind of a guild. You never find those people without letting the whole village try, and you cannot know in advance who they are. That's the entire point. The slop is the village learning, and this isn't hypothetical anymore. You can actually point to someone right now who is that person. So there's this guy named Jack Roberts on YouTube. There's like millions of people watching this guy. He's building honestly beautiful functional websites using Google's AI suite, Stitch, Anti-Gravity, Whisk, Flow, you name it, you got it. The kind of output that used to mean agency budget, dev team $50,000 minimum. He's not really a credentialed designer from what I've seen. He's like not a trained engineer. He's someone who got access to tools that didn't have it 2 years ago and figured out how to use them better than almost anyone. That doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing. Like he definitely knows what he's doing, but he just has access that he didn't have before. In the old system, he simply doesn't exist in this form. And somewhere in his million viewers is the next person, maybe better than him. We don't know that yet. That's how it always works. We never know until they build it. Now, I want to bring this home because this isn't abstract for me. This is literally my industry. Anthropic, the company that makes Claude, just published a study. Architecture and engineering is theoretically one of the most exposed industries to AI. Up to 85% of tasks, according to this article, are potentially affected. That's a massive number, but you know what the observed adoption rate is? It's close to zero. Architects are barely using it. And honestly, I'm not surprised because I watched the same thing. It happened with AutoCAD. Well, I heard about that. I wasn't there firsthand, but I saw it happen with Revit. Every single time that a new tool enters this profession, the first reaction is resistance. It feels really threatening, like something is being taken away. As an example, I built Datum Notes. It's an AI tool that's specifically for architects, and I've watched the reaction firsthand. Some architects cannot stand it. They call it slop. They say it's going to ruin the profession, but the architects who are actually experimenting with these tools right now, they're moving faster. They're doing work that used to require a full team. The profession is not going to be replaced by AI, but it's going to be split between the architects who treated this moment the way that the smart ones treated AutoCAD, who adapted and got better, and then the ones that didn't. That split has happened before in this industry. We already know which side came out ahead. So let me leave you with this. AI slop isn't evidence that the system is broken. It's evidence that that barrier just collapsed. And historically, every time that that happens, the printing press, podcast microphone, the YouTube upload button, A flood of noise shows up right before something changes everything. So the slop isn't the problem. The slop is the sign.